Drivers, start your engines.
You are now listening to the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. My name is Darryl Jr. and I'm welcoming you to take another lap of the extra mile for today, May the 7th, 2020. And ladies and gentlemen, I can hear them in the distance. The engines are starting to fire once again. The shops are opening all across America. The new schedules are being printed out. Racing is once again just around the corner, and to help me celebrate, as always, is my co-host. You just heard her on Not What It Seems. Now you hear her right now on the Extra Mile. It's Caitlin C. Caitlin, welcome. First, welcome to the program tonight, and welcome back.
Thank you. I'm now a year older. Hopefully that means a year wiser, but I guess we'll find out. Time will tell.
Well, you're already wiser than a fair few amount of people that are out there today as we get ready to get into things.
So true.
Certain things have been in the news. There were a couple of incidents that we are not going to get into tonight because if you think Darryl rants about NASCAR, you don't want to hear him about social issues. We will never get into the topic tonight. So that's going to come at a later date probably on my work platform. So I'll have more information about that as it becomes available. But as we are getting into, I guess, the new COVID world, we have been watching all of the people that are now suddenly protesting because they want to go to the restaurants and go and get their haircut and their manicures and all that crap. And ladies and gentlemen, I need to remind y'all something. There is still no real vaccine or real treatment for this. Remdesivir may have been approved as a treatment, but there ain't that much of it. And I need y'all to sit down somewhere and chill out because some of the stuff I've had to see come across my television screen the last couple of weeks, y'all trying the patience. And I'm not even a governor. And y'all just trying my patience.
As a friendly reminder, just because you're over COVID doesn't mean COVID is over.
Yeah. COVID does not care that you want to go golfing.
Or getting your hair cut. Calm down.
Yeah. So that seems... And now, they're doing the meat. There's a possible meat shortage. Please do not hoard the meat like you hoarded the toilet paper.
It goes bad.
Yeah. Also, we can't ask people if they have enough meat. We will get taken off the air. So don't make us have to add that to our list of questions.
Sounds like a personal question, Darryl.
It really is. So
just joined, and Caitlin is already being wild.
Hey, Michael's here. And no, that was actually my fault this time. So the three amigos back together again. Let's actually get into the show because our guest is going to be here around 8:15. Last week we had the spotter for Scott Dixon, Robbie Fast, on, and if you missed that interview, once this is over, go back and listen to that. We had a lot of fun talking about everything from his career in spotting and the differences between spotting for IndyCar, NASCAR, and of course IMSA. We got into a little bit of conversation about the USA 500 and that ridiculous accident that happened at the start of that race. And we got into just how extra the IndyCar teams are being with their iRacing championships. That was a lot of fun. Go back and check that out. We got Rajah Caruth coming on tonight at 8:15. He is a driver in the Driver for Diversity program for Rev Racing and also a DC native. Going to be so glad to talk to him. But before we get to all of that, guys, we've got schedule dates to talk about for the first time in 8 weeks. NASCAR and Indycar have scheduled when they are coming back to racing. IndyCar has announced that their season will start June 6th with the Genesis 300 at the Texas Motor Speedway. That will be seen at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That race can be seen on NBCSN. While NASCAR is back next Sunday at Darlington, May 17th. That'll be at 3 o'clock. That race will be seen on Fox. That is going to be the first of 4 races in 14 days for the Cup Series. 2 races happening at Darlington, 2 races happening at Charlotte, including the Coke 600. Guys, it feels like it's been an eternity since we've talked about actual racing, but here it is. It's finally back. We're going racing again. What are you feeling right now? Do you think it's a good decision, or do you think we're going back too fast?
I think IndyCar is making a better decision. I think even on a closed circuit, June, I think, is a much better shot to go for. I think it's going to give you a little bit longer just to make sure everything's settled down, and it helps them have time to prepare, because you still can't be, you still got to be smart about all of this. And I feel like NASCAR pulled a very NASCAR thing here, and they're jumping the gun. And I think it is what it is with them. And I'm rolling my eyes at, I'm not even surprised, to be honest. But I think it's a little early I know, everybody's so excited, and I get it. It's going to be exciting to have racing back, but I feel like they are jumping the gun a little too soon. North Carolina isn't even, their first phase of opening isn't even till tomorrow. So it's I just think they're rushing it a little bit, but.
Yeah, we actually had our first phase today, or not really official phase, but they did allow some outdoor activities. The way it's looking, next week we will officially open stage 1 here in Maryland, as our numbers are finally starting to come down, thank God. Michael, you live up here with me, so you've seen how things are going. What do you think of this scheduling thing? Do you think it's too soon, or you think, you happy that we're going back?
I'm happy, but I just want to make sure that everyone is just, keeping everything the norm, just making sure you're wearing the mask, washing your hands, wearing hand sanitizer, Lysol, all that. I just think that I do agree with Caitlin. It's too early to start opening up, because there's no cure for this yet, and there's no proper treatment. As far as what I've seen from records, you either live or you die.
Yeah.
So, I think that they should postpone it until there's a proper treatment or there's a cure. I think there are some places working on a cure right now, but I still think we can have racing, but maybe have the empty races like F1 plans to do.
Yeah. And that is the important distinction you need to make. None of these races coming up the next month or so will have fans. I don't think we're going to have fans for the rest of the season. I know the Indy 500 in August, they think they're going to have fans. I don't really think so, but that's all there's a lot that is going to take for that. I do know there are at least 2 or 3 programs right now of vaccine trials going on. One of them, they're going to hot shot, and I think it's the one that Oxford is doing. They are hot shotting that if it works. So that'll be the first wave of vaccines. There are more vaccines that are also being tested and worked on. Those are going to take the more traditional path, so that we will potentially, crossing our fingers this works, we will have multiple vaccines to fight this thing come 2021, and we can get back to I don't want to say get back to normalcy, but move on charting our path.
The new normal.
The new normal in the post-COVID world. But it is... Well, go ahead, Caitlin.
I was going to say, well, the one thing about, like, the fans coming back, too, is it's not just IndyCar or NASCAR or any other sanctioning body of, you know, any of the major 4 leagues or anything wanting the fans to come back. At this point, it's still all state mandated as well, because, you know, at least, for example, in North Carolina right now, you know, no gatherings, you know, of 10 or more is going to be the first phase thing, because right now they're still pushing hard to be in complete self-quarantine. And then phase 2 even is, you know, limiting it to under like 50 outside. And then, like, phase 3, I think it's 50 inside. And so we are a long way away from allowing thousands and hundreds of thousands of people to be in the same area. So I, you know, have planned on going. I was going to be at the Indy 500 this month if it was going to happen before this all happened. You know, I'm kind of already planning on being there for August. You know, like, the ticket is there kind of thing. But I mean, as much as we want it, as much as, you know, the people of Indy 500, you know, Indy 500 and the Speedway want it, it really, the very first call comes down to what the states are going to approve.
Right.
Because they could even mandate a law being like, you can't have a group of 100 or more. And we're going to keep it like that through the end of the year even. And then it doesn't matter how much, you know, a league or a racing sanctioning body wants it. It's still, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the state governments at that point too, though.
Right.
I really think that there should just not be people at the events for the rest of 2020 just to be safe. We have not done the testing, and it doesn't like we are going to do the testing to make putting people at events of any sort of possibility. So for my safety, I would want to go no fans at events for the rest of 2020. Try this again in 2021. I know if we have a chance to go to Pocono as media whenever it slots back into the schedule, we definitely will go. I know we're trying to work with Mike Harmon Racing, get something set up for Richmond. I'll do that, but I really don't think as a fan I'd really be going to any event if there's going to be a lot of people, because I just don't know. And there's a lot of questions we still have about this illness. And, you know, I have parents that are 60 years old. One is high risk for catching really any illness right now. So I can't take a risk and just go to an event because I might catch something and bring it back home. I don't want to do that.
Exactly. Right. I think that the biggest reminder of all of this right now too is that so many people, I feel like most of the people that you're seeing being so outraged by it, it's very selfish. Mm-hmm. I think that is something people have to take in consideration, because this is 100% not just about you. This is about everybody. And I think that you know, put it in the exact correct phase, is that one of your...
Oh, goodness.
Hello?
Hey, give me 1 second. Roger just had a issue. Just a technical glitch. Give us 1 second. Actually, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to reset everything, and we'll be right back after this here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
So you want to check out Bases Loaded. We're back here in the Extra Mile, and what happened there was Darryl did not pay attention to the Skype window as he was listening to Caitlin talk and was merging in the guest to try and have the guest there for when we go to break. Well, he hit the wrong button and accidentally switched calls, so now we're trying to rectify everything.
Sure, Darryl, okay.
Well,
if you want Caitlin to stop ranting, you just gotta say so.
No, I was actually enjoying what you were saying. We'll get Rajah back on the line in a minute, and we'll go from there. But, Caitlin, I want you to finish your point that you were actually midway through when I clicked back over because I couldn't really warn you. Oh, crap, I hit the wrong button. So we were talking about the testing issue and having people at events, so continue from where you left off.
Oh, and what I was just getting into is to make a point is that this is the worst time to be selfish. It's not just about you as a person. It is about society as a whole. You know, one of the rules, love thy neighbor. Well, you're not loving anybody if you're thinking very selfishly. I know people think it's really cool to like not wear masks in public because they're being some kind of rebel, but you're just doing everybody a disservice. Because the only way the masks work is if everybody wears them. Because if you're breathing around with your little COVID air and everybody else has a mask, it's not going to be doing nearly the justification as if you were wearing the mask as well. So in Darryl's, situation as like the best example, Darryl can't be selfish and go out and think of just Darryl. Because what Darryl brings back home to his parent who is very, immune suppressed right now and is, at high risk for anything. If you don't think about those people too around you, there's so much higher of a chance of them getting it.
I'm going to interrupt. We're going to have to reform the call to get the guest in. So I'm going to pick him up and then I'll add you guys back in. So here's Rajah, you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so sorry about this. Skype is being, a computer program that is partially made by Microsoft, which means frustrating to use. So we're having to do things differently. But joining us now on the program is Driver Diversity Racing driver, a DC native, Mr. Rajah Caruth. Rajah, thank you for joining us. We're getting the rest of the guests, getting the rest of the hosts in here as a moment. But let's go ahead and start the interview, my man. How have you been since the last time we talked to you, and or last time since we talked, and how you getting on with the COVID situation?
Thanks for having me, Darryl. Hope everybody's doing good. Just doing the same as everybody, trying to take advantage of the free time, and that's really it. There's only so much you can do. You can work out, do coursework, do work. everything to care for yourself and your family. But, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah. So we were actually just talking about the schedule situation now in NASCAR and IndyCar and whether or not they should, whether or not we should be seeing fans the rest of the season. So I know Caitlin was making her point. I'm going to allow Caitlin to finish this point. I'm going to bring the question to Rajah. I swear, Caitlin, I want you to finish this point. So Caitlin finished the point, and then Rajah, when she finishes, I want to bring the same question to you. Do you think we should really have fans at the events really for the rest of the year? So Caitlin, go ahead and finish, and then we'll go to Rajah.
Cool.
Long story short, that what is it? Too long didn't read thing. We can't be selfish right now. I think that's the biggest take home of everything is as I think I didn't realize how much of a self-centered society we had until this all really happened. Is we are very much in, they used to make fun of millennials. Oh, it's the me generation. Well, pretty sure it's all man for themselves right now, and all it's going to do is sink a lot of ships. And so, guys, you can't be selfish right now. You have to think about everybody else too that's around you. That's the only way we're going to get through this. And you can't rush through that. So you got to think of one person at a time. It's not going to work. You got to be able to think of yourself plus everybody else around you. So that's the thing we got to take out of this. Everybody's just trying to rush into everything without thinking it through. And I get it. You feel like you are having your wings clipped. It's fine. We all have our wings clipped together. But let's just be little chickens on the ground hanging out together. Be smart. I think that's 100%. All I had this time.
Just try to, also, all I have to say is just try to take your mind off of it, really. For me and Darryl, we're gamers, so we use gaming to take our mind off of it. And just, like I said, just try to keep your mind off of it. And real quick, I just want to thank all of the people who, in the medical field right now trying to fight this.
Amen. Rajah, what are your feelings about this? Should we be going back to having fans in 2020?
Later on in 2020, probably, but not for the immediate, I guess, coming months. With that being said, there probably won't be a getting back to normal. I think it'll be a new normal when we start allowing fans, to concerts, to rallies, to political events, to races, to sporting events. But I think to start having them sooner is better to have them fans allowed back at places later than sooner. It can only do more harm than it can good. And that's really all I have to say on that.
Yeah, hopefully things will get better. We'll have updates during the rest of the year about how COVID-19 is going and how close we will be going to having fans in the stands. But let us get in with our guest here from the School Without Borders in D.C. Going to be going to the Winston-Salem State University in the fall of this season, join the CIAA conference. Welcome in. But this man's a D.C. native, and he's also a racer at heart. Not a lot of racers come from this area, obviously. So, Rajah, how did you find your way into racing?
Well, I've had a passion for it since I was a little kid, and watching cars and Speed Racer when I was little, that's probably where it started. I have pretty good memories of those particular movies, and not growing up in a racing family, I didn't have connections. I didn't live in Concord, didn't live in Irwindale, California, didn't live in New Smyrna, and have a local track nearby. It's got attached from those cartoons and things like that, and I made the connection to seeing it on TV, seeing old nationwide races and stuff like that, and from there on, it just stuck with me, and wasn't a phase as I got older, and as I got older, I realized it's what I want to put my life into.
And you went on from there to you actually started racing at a local go-kart track near here. Tell the listeners about that, and what were some things you were doing there at that speedway?
Well, what I had, that was really my first experience really of doing anything racing related outside of attending races from a fan side of things, and so getting that initial experience of, you know, a very, very amateur level, basic form of racing. You know, it provided a pretty small foundation, but pretty important in terms of what I was able to learn, and basically just pivotal, I think, in my career so far.
And you did that racing at the Autobahn Raceway here up in Laurel. That racetrack is actually a lot different than the type of karts that you would see at Go-Kart Raceway in Crofton. Tell a little people about just how those karts are.
So the place in Crofton, I believe, those are like gas karts, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the go-karts that are at like amusement parks and things like that. You know, you could pay a couple bucks to ride around for like 20 minutes or whatever. But for at Autobahn Indoor Speedway, basically those karts are electric go-karts. They can top 40 miles per hour, and you learn a lot, and the tracks are very narrow, very small. So you learn a lot about technique and proximity to other cars, and what you can do to manipulate your car, how to make speed, and how to be slow as well. So you learn a lot of basics, and it's a very cool experience.
And that's a track anyone can really go to. They have league nights there as well. They do make you put a helmet on, so they're a lot different than those karts at Crofton where they got the governors on. Those electric karts at Autobahn, they really go up there. So it's a good teaching tool, and it feels like it's one of those things where when you don't live in the area where racing is big, like a Charlotte, North Carolina, or Indianapolis, or a Pomona, California, in the West Coast, facilities like that, it feels like those are some of the best ways for those outside, before iRacing got made, to really train your skills.
I think especially from how I started, not having the connections to legend car teams and driver developmental programs. iRacing is a big tool, and the same thing with Autobahn. Anybody can go up there and race, and anybody can get on iRacing and race. Both are generally inexpensive compared to other forms of racing that you can get into, and that is really lowers the barrier of entry, and just allows anybody who has a passion for it and wants to get into it to just go.
iRacing, as we all know, has had a huge uptick in interest, with just about everything that's a racing series running some sort of official sim race that is either aired on television or aired on YouTube. We've watched a couple. I know Michael and I have been enthralled in it. But Rajah, you've raced the sim on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. I wanted to ask you about the feeling within the iRacing community when this started. What were you guys' reactions within the community to all of the new press that was coming from things like the iRacing Pro Invitational and then the Indycar real season event that they had?
From the iRacing community itself, there's a lot of widespread really positivity and excitement, to have people, have more eyes on iRacing. And so with that being said, a lot of things that were on the sim that weren't really the best were upgraded and made sure to not only look good on TV, but be good. And so for regular consumers like us to be on there and enjoy the upgrades and stuff like that. So it was a lot of excitement and very cool to see these new eyes, new popularity on iRacing.
So we get those new eyes. Have you seen an uptick in the racers since this all started?
Not on my end, but specifically, since of how iRacing works, you got to rank yourself up as you start off. You can't just go to top split as soon as you hop on and make an account. So I definitely still see a lot of growth and a lot of new people on there as well. From races last year that would have only a couple hundred signed up. I've seen races this year where you have over 1,000 people registered for just one race. So it's been a lot of new eyes and new people on here, and more people making their way up and ranking up and getting to race with me and other people.
And they'll get to grow the community as well. But the important thing, or the unique thing about iRacing, is the fact that you get to race with the pros at sometimes, and you will see when pros are on, because those lobbies will start filling up extremely quickly wherever they're practicing or qualifying or whatever. But Rajah, you got to use that as a training tool, and then you got to go run for real. So when was your first race in a real car outside of the go-kart track, and what were some of the differences with that compared to what you did on iRacing?
So my first race in real life outside of go-karts was at the Bojangles Summer Shootout in a legend car. And so some of the similarities, I think, were some of the visual cues in terms of what the track looked like and the surface of the track, and then really the surroundings and really the graphics in general. You know, it was pretty spot on. And some of the things I had to get used to was really, at the end of the day, just the sensation of speed and actually physically being in the car and having to pay attention to more things outside of your eyes and your hands and your ears, you know, having to have that butt in the seat feel and to know what the car is doing. That's one of the biggest things that I had to adjust to.
So how long did it take you to get adjusted to the new feelings?
Probably to the end of the summer, to be honest with you, till the second to last or third to last race of the summer shootout, it really started to click, and into the fall series at the 5th mile at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. That's really when it started to click, you know, not having, you know, years and years of growing up in the racing family and you know, racing in general, you know, not being a little bit behind some of the people that, you know, have been doing it for years and honestly longer than I've been alive. So it took a little bit, but, you know, it started to click right around the good time.
So what were some of your favorite moments from that first season in the summer shootout series?
Some pretty good moments I have really were the finishes I really got toward the end of the year. You know, getting 2 top 10s and getting some heat wins were personal highlights for me, just to kind of prove myself that I deserved the spot there and was able to prove myself and just, you know, acclimate in such a short time and start producing. And practicing with Bubba Wallace as well was pretty cool, you know, being in the same, you know, garage, being able to see his car as well and ask him stuff and whatnot. So that was really cool personally. And overall, it was a very fun summer, and I will never forget it.
Yeah, and Bubba came down to, it felt like to really it almost felt like trying to rekindle the passion for racing. He was going through a real rough stretch. When he came down to race with you guys, what was your reaction? What was the reaction from the field having him down there, and how was it like racing with him on the track? You know, having an actual Cup Series driver coming back down there and running with you guys.
It was really cool. You know, him being in a division higher than mine, seeing how, you know, some of the guys that raced in the pro division had raced him when he was a kid and making his way up through the ranks, and you know, seeing how they raced him and how he raced them. Was really cool, and seeing, you know, them go at it, you know, either before our race in the semi-pro division or after our race. So it was always a show and fun to watch, and pretty surreal, you know, to see one of the guys that's able to do it on Sunday, you know, come back on a Tuesday and keep good with us.
I bet that was a lot of fun for y'all getting to race with him. So you go into that series, and then you get. How did you go from there to getting connected with the Drive for Diversity program?
You know, getting into the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program was a pretty different process. You know, running in the eNASCAR Ignite series in 2018, I didn't really have any plans after that, and so as a result, my father and I really looked into the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program. You know, we knew that it had already existed for years beforehand. You know, seeing Darryl Wallace, Kyle Larson, Daniel Suarez, Sergio Pena, you know, come through that series, and knowing it was a pretty good opportunity, really, to and basically our only shot, really, to get into racing in general. And, you know, applying for that program, you know, connecting with some of the people, Matt Burker, Jefferson Hodges, Chrissy Gormel, you know, at the ARCA series finale in 2018 at Dover, you know, connecting and giving my business card and things like that, you know, to put a name with a face was how really I was able to meet some of those people, and then applying for the program and participating in the youth combine was really how that process went down.
So you got through the program, or so you got through the combine, got onto the program. You guys had a schedule in place, and then this happens. What was your reaction when this first happened, and when the COVID first happened and the racing schedule got shut down? And have you heard any updates on whenever you might get to go racing full time or racing on actual track this year?
When COVID really started to take or affect, I guess, everyday life in America, I had already been aware of the global effect that was happening, and I had kind of figured it was, a matter of time before it really came here and started to affect our lives. And so, literally that week, I had I didn't think it would be my last day at school for forever, but it seemed like it would be my last day for a little bit, considering I would have been in Concord for the next month or so with racing the late model, and going down to Atlanta to planning to race that legend car the NASCAR weekend, and then everything getting canceled and postponed from that point on. And really wasn't a surprise at first, but it was somewhat of a disappointment. But I had to really remember that it's for the better, and a lot of people have it worse than what we do. We get to race cars, and so postponing it a couple months, I can say that just because I don't have to pay the bills yet, but postponing it for a little bit is better than putting everybody at risk for getting sick and jeopardizing people's lives. So it was certainly a disappointment, but there's certainly worse things happened, and it seems like we'll get back going soon as well.
You said at the beginning. You said the movie Cars was an important step in your love of motorsports. How do you think that movie helped cultivate the youth movement in racing for the younger fans to help get them acclimated into what the sport is?
Oh, it was such a big role. I did an interview with my friend Manon, a graduate of University of Kentucky, and essentially he said, and he's a couple of years older than me, and he said he had watched Cars when he was little. Talking to my school friends, that didn't have a racing background, didn't really know what NASCAR is, they could point out and say, oh, that's Lightning McQueen, oh, that's Chick Hicks, that's Mater, that's the movie's based off NASCAR, so it was a big cultural thing, I think, and with how that trilogy series went about and how accurate really that whole series was, especially in the last one in terms of how the sport is portrayed, is really accurate to real life. It was really big in the youth, and I got a little cousin now that's probably 6, 7 now, and watching the Cars movies, all of them, and with him, and he's asked me if I'm kind of like any of them, and that says to me that it's a pretty big deal.
And I've watched all the Cars movies. That's one of my favorite series. Out of all three, which one was your favorite? Man,
that's a tough one. I've watched them probably 10 times on end on all of them. So I would have to say probably the third one's my favorite. Being able to relate to some of them in terms of Jimmy Johnson, kind of having the role of Lightning McQueen in that movie, and seeing really how the sport's changing and how it's been able to benefit people like me that, I've had an interest for a long time and are finally starting to have an opportunity, So, I personally really like the third movie, and, I got a picture of Cruz Ramirez in my room just to, serve as motivation to, hopefully I could be Cruz.
Nice. And I think I've seen a pattern that people say either the first one or the third one was their favorite. I don't really hear anyone saying that 2 was anybody's favorite. We kind of try to forget that 2 actually existed.
Yeah, I think that third movie was or the second movie was really just a little have fun, kind of like, you see, like, in like Gordon and Junior and you guys, halfway or midway through their careers, at their height, being able to go to places like go to New York, go to Tokyo and be recognizable, to common people. So I kind of saw some similarities really with that, with McQueen, racing in Italy, racing in Japan, that really doesn't happen unless you're a superstar, and so there are really similarities in all three of those movies. And although really the second one was kind of an an action movie more than a racing movie, it was still, a really good series.
Yeah, see, that was that one where they tried to make Mater the main character, and I'm going to be honest, it did not work. It did not work. But you did grow up in the, I say, NASCAR gaming generation, because by the time you came up, you had the Technics games. I'm not going to ask you if you were around for the NASCAR Thunder series, because I don't want to feel that old, to be honest. So you came up when we had a lot of NASCAR games around. Other than iRacing, what were some of your favorites in NASCAR racing games out there, or racing games in general?
So really, my first NASCAR game that I played was NASCAR the game Inside Line, or 2011 actually, not Inside Line, 2011. So I know that's pretty or late, in the NASCAR game genre. But I'd probably say my favorite is probably NASCAR 15. Those games really were just, at the time, it seemed like as close as I would get, and I treated them seriously, and I loved those games, and competing in little leagues on there, I had a blast. And that was probably the only really racing games that I did. I was a big Need for Speed kid too, but that was really it.
I said I didn't want to feel old, and then you said one of your first games was NASCAR Inside Line.
I knew it.
And I think I was 22 when that game came out. So, yeah, I just feel like a walking fossil at this point, but it is what it is. But I'm glad you had fun with that one. That was actually one of the ones that actually brought where you could build your car again, which we hadn't seen since NASCAR Thunder 04 at that time. So that was one of the fun ones, though people talked about the physics in that one weren't good, but I had fun with it, so who cares? But so we move on. You big racer, big gamer as well. When we talked last week, we went through your rig a little bit for iRacing. You were racing in I think it was the NASCAR Ignite series on iRacing, and there's a lot of these leagues that the official series are setting up within the racing simulator iRacing to help. I know they're doing it to help grow the fans. Do you think this will be a way in the future where we will see more drivers coming out of iRacing and running in real time with how realistic the sim is getting?
Definitely, 100%. Specifically talking about names, there's this one kid I'm friends with, Donovan Strauss, and he started racing on iRacing, last year, and he's already, making a name for himself in the top 20 in iRacing eNASCAR Road to Pro points, and getting a Bando win in like his first or second start. It's really showing guys that have the ability on the sim, can do it in real life, and yeah.
We watched the pro. We've all watched the Pro Invitational by now. We've seen how Garrett Smithley and Timmy Hill have run up near the front. We know when we get back to racing in a couple of weeks, that's all going to come back to reality for those guys, where unfortunately the equipment's not going to shape up. But do you think for the fans it helps build their reputation with the general public by saying, oh, those guys actually can run the cars if they're in equal equipment? Do you think that will help them with sponsors down the line?
I definitely think it could. You'll have still have some people that think it's a video game, and they'll think it's a cheat really to be fast on there, but at the same time, if you put the time in, there's some similarities. I've never driven a Cup car, but some of the mannerisms and some of the habits and things that are replicated on iRacing are really spot on. So I definitely think for guys like Timmy Hill, like Garrett Smithley, like Joey Gase, like guys like that, really, it's a really big opportunity for them. I think that have for Timmy Hill, have pit boss grills, be on that car for 5 races in real life, or Garrett Smithley, have the broker company that helped him out, race at on his car more than in Indianapolis, maybe at Phoenix, at Homestead, at Texas, and it's a big opportunity for guys like that.
we saw early in the Pro Invitational, and this will be the last question because I really want to get into some things that are coming up with you in the future at Winston-Salem State, but we saw an incident of, to use a gamer term, a real-life driver getting tilted when Bubba ended up rage quitting during the event at Bristol. For you guys on the sim, how hard is it to keep the composure? Because as we've seen over the last few weeks, as we've heard about some of the exploits in the IndyCar chat that have been reported to us, with Will Power constantly getting chat banned during the race, how hard is it to keep your cool, and what do you do to try and calm yourself when an accident happens?
Well, it's in real life, when you get mad, you can, you'll yell and talk to yourself, for people to hear it, you got to hit a push to talk button. So, and that's not really, and on top of that, you wouldn't, in real life, you wouldn't, retaliate at someone necessarily, and, ruin your car, the other person's car, and, you'll have to fix it. You'll have to pay for it. And so at iRacing, some people, don't see it the same way. And so they'll cussing and yelling and screaming and, going backwards and retaliating against people and stuff like that. For me personally, it's kind of disheartening. It's kind of annoying just because, treat it like you actually got to pay for the sheet metal you mess up. Like, if you mess up your motor, you gotta pay $25,000 for it. Treat it that, keep the same energy. And, when you have people that, at the end of the day, it's a simulator and it's not real life, but that don't mean you can't treat it like real life.
And Rajah, you're on your way to Winston-Salem State University this fall, and for the picture we've been using to promote today, you've got a WSSU Motorsports Management shirt on. Tell us a little bit about that. What do they do, and how did you get involved with that?
With the Motorsports Management, I'd already known that program at Winston-Salem had been around for a little bit, having Walter Thomas be in that program and be a graduate this year, I believe. And so talking to him and him being affiliated with NASCAR Drive for Diversity and learning about that program, and last year meeting Dr. Harshaw, of the program, really just putting a name to a face and really seeing the campus, that's really how it came together. And at that point on, really around this time last year, I said, all right, this is, I kind of want to go here. And so, being let in and being to be a Ram in the fall and be a part of the Ramley, I'm really excited.
What are you looking forward to experiencing the most in your freshman year at Winston-Salem State?
I'm really excited, to have a college experience. I won't be able to do a lot of things, especially, being, racing a lot and having to put in the time, at the race shop and, having to be there and wanting to be there really and taking as much as I can and learn as much as I can and doing stuff off the track, doing workouts, competition meetings, sim work and stuff like that. Really, I'm really excited just to be a college kid, and not necessarily, go party until 3 a.m., but, experience things that, a normal college kid would have because, in high school, I had a pretty normal high school, except really for senior year, because that's really when things started to roll really for my career. And really the point where high school was the most fun, I kind of missed out on part of that. So I kind of want to get some of it in freshman year in college and, just have that experience.
What I'll give you one piece of advice, because I know they got you needing to register for your classes soon. Stay away from the 8 a.m. classes. They are the devil. Don't do it to yourself. Michael will attest, and
don't do it.
So will Caitlin.
They heard.
Don't do it. Do yourself a favor. Don't do it. If it's the last class you have to take that semester, wait the next semester. Just don't do it.
I would, and unfortunately, I don't think we play Rams in Actually, I need to go check the football schedule. I don't think Bowie State sees them this year, but I would say you might get to the championship game, possibly get to experience, first football title, but Bowie got that on lock. Sorry, but
all right.
Hey, I just gotta mess with you, but we're excited to see you run this season. What are your expectations when we finally get going in 2020?
So for real life stuff, with the Legend car, I'm having a year under my belt. I'm really excited, really, just to having the year of experience, really, to be able to challenge for top fives and at the end of the day, wins. Last year, naively I said, let's go win a championship, and not realizing the amount of work it has to go in and how much learning I had to do, really. That goal was a little bit too high, but now that's within reach now. So really on the Legend car side of things, to race for a win, go trophy chasing. And on the late model side of things, really, I just want to complete all the laps and just learn as much as I can. Not having big car experience and really having to get up to speed quickly. Just want to run all the laps and really just learn.
And where are they going to have you run in that late model?
Well, we were planning to go to places like South Boston, Hickory, Tri-County, Wake County. But, that's kind of up in the air right now, and we don't really know what'll happen right now.
Okay. So we got one more question before we get you out of here tonight. At the beginning of this whole COVID-19 shenaniganry, certain things went missing, and there was one item that absolutely flew off the shelves. So we decided to bring some levity to the end of these interviews. We would ask our guests if they were able to have enough of it. And I'm going to pass it over to Caitlin to ask you this question. Caitlin, go ahead.
Yeah, so it might help a little bit for the fact that I assume that you're not at Winston-Salem yet, so you still are at home. So you got a little bit of a teamwork advantage here. But we need to know, when this whole thing got started, and even now, do you have enough toilet paper?
Yes, we do. So what had happened was, when everything got canceled or postponed right around March 13th, 14th, I believe, it was just Dad and I in Atlanta, And at that point, we went to Target at like 7 o'clock in the morning, really, and just loaded up on some stuff, getting some snacks, some food, some canned food, and some toilet paper and some wipes and stuff, and put it in the car. And when we found out, then everything was postponed, and when we went back to Concord, realizing that stuff wasn't going to be going on for a little bit, we just took everything back to DC and been here for almost 2 months.
Man with a plan, your dad. That's for sure.
So Rajah Caruth _ where you can find him on Twitter. He also streams iRacing as well. He's on a few nights a week, so check that out. You can find more information about that on his Twitter as well. Rajah, this has been fun. We'll have to space out the times between when we talk, but we'll definitely have you on later on this season. Hopefully by then you'll have been able to get into the late model, and enjoy your time at Winston-Salem State, and welcome to the CIAA family, brother. You're going to love it.
Thank you guys for having me on. Hope everybody has a good day.
You're welcome. Have a good one, man.
All right.
So that was Rajah Caruth. You want to follow this young gentleman. He is going to be doing a lot of big things in the racing world here before too long. And guys, that was a lot of fun. It looks like for our little TP challenge question, just about everybody has had enough, but I don't think anyone at this point is going to beat the answer Angela Rutsch gave us around the middle of this thing. I think she's got the win on lock at this point.
Yeah,
I just don't know how you surpass that. Like, what else is there? Like, at that point.
Yeah, a house made of toilet paper.
Yeah, basically. Also, I love how I said that I didn't want to feel old, so I didn't want to mention the NASCAR Thunder year, and then he mentions, NASCAR Inside Line was one of his
I
first.
had the meanest groan. That's why I was muted, so I had the meanest. Because he's missing out.
Well, I mean, he can go back and emulate it, but my thing was like, oh my goodness, I forgot that was some people's first NASCAR game.
Yep.
But I can't wait.
I mean, that I'm not so. I mean, you know me. I'm not super associated with video games, but I feel like when I had my feel old moment. I mean, I just had my birthday a week ago, so I have another tally added anyway, and I'm trying to like embrace it. And then Cars gets brought up as like one of the movies growing up that like actually got him excited, which is so cool. But I was just like, oh wait, what?
Caitlin, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I honestly thought you were about to say, I want to start playing video games, I was able to be like, what?
Yeah, I wouldn't get my hopes too high up on that one. I will say that I don't even own like a gaming console, guys. Like that's how like archaic my house is.
Okay, one of these days, I'm gonna ship you a game console with everything on it and just leave it there. If you do, cool. If you don't do anything with it, I'll be sad. But
I can say when I was a kid, I did used to play Crash Bandicoot. That was my jam for like a year. And
Crash Bandicoot was the greatest.
I had that going for me.
Yeah.
But that did make me feel old.
Leave it there.
Like
yeah.
I literally had this moment of realization when he was talking that I was like, I mean, he's such a cool kid, and he's talking about going to college, and I'm like, yeah, and you're like, yeah, he's 17, and I went, I am literally almost half his age, and I went, oh my god. Like that was my like feel old moment. He's talking about cars, and then I was just like, wait, he's 17.
Yep.
He literally could be my child, guys. Like if I was a teenage mom, he could be my kid.
The sad part is you're not wrong, but he's got a long future in racing ahead of him. I can't wait to see what happens. I forgot to ask. I was going to ask, but decided not to about the whole Kyle Larson thing because we've talked about it too.
We were having too much fun.
Yeah, that we've talked about it to death. Larson was an idiot for that. Which, by the way, he sold his houses in North Carolina.
Wait, really?
So, yeah, both of them got sold now. So that tells you about everything about whether
he doesn't feel bad.
Well, it tells you about what he's going to do. Whether or not he's going to be going back to NASCAR, I don't see that happening. So,
no. But I think it also shows that there isn't any true remorse because he clearly isn't. He would rather sell both of his houses in North Carolina than work to redeem himself in this situation.
Yeah. So
we can call a spade at that point.
Yeah, so Kyle's going to be racing this Friday in the World of Outlaws and probably for, the foreseeable future because he's got to reapply for reinstatement. NASCAR's not going to reinstate him, so we'll see how that goes. But that was another great interview. The COVID Red Flag series of interviews is going to come to an end next week. We're working on getting Joe Nemechek on the show. That's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to get a chance to talk to Front Row Joe to conclude the COVID Red Flag series, and then we're going to repackage the interviews a bit because I think we've had so much fun doing these that we do want to make them a regular part of the program, and we'll have more information about that as it comes available. But guys, we are almost ready to go racing again, except for Formula One, where they think they might not race at all. How big of a blow would that be if we don't get a Formula One season?
I mean, with it being such an international race like body, I just don't see how you could. Really, to me, that just makes the most amount of sense. I mean, yes, it sucks, but I mean, most of the countries aren't even open over in Europe right now. Yeah. I mean, how do you finagle racing on top of that?
Yeah, and as Michael said, especially Italy, because Italy just got it was a bad time for Italy, and
I don't even know if Ferrari can go to race.
Well, I remember the team, they got out of Italy to go to Australia. I don't know if they ever went back, because I don't think they could get back.
So they never went back to Italy?
Well, once Italy got locked down, they weren't allowing anybody in or out.
Yeah, they got...
Oh my God. So their cars and teams are still... Oh, no.
They probably took the stuff to Great Britain, because I know a lot of the teams have... Because a lot of the parts and stuff go to Great Britain, so they probably had some place to stash them there, and that's where all the stuff has been.
But they could have stashed it at Haas.
Yeah, but I never heard about whether or not the team was able to go back.
That is a story to think about.
That team's going to be running for a lot of national pride when they get back going, so I would expect Ferrari to come out swinging whenever and wherever it is we go back racing.
I'm just thinking about it. They never got the car back, or I mean, they probably had backup cars, but my head is down for a loop over this. Wait.
Yeah, I'll have to find out more information about that. We'll look for that and update you next week on how that went with Ferrari. As right now, Italy is slowly starting to reopen as other countries are, and pretty soon, y'all, we're going to be racing again. And it's going to feel really good. Cannot wait for the midweek races that are going to be on Wednesday, so we're going to have a lot to talk about. But you're going to have to wait till next week, as we're going to get ready to say good night for this evening. Check out Caitlin's show, Not What It Seems. Before this, you can check her out on Twitter at Caitlin Seam or at Seam Radio. Michael's at Stargazer_FX. I am at DK Jr. 12. You want to keep it locked to the social media pages for Extra Mile, or for the Extra Mile at the Extra Mile IE Sports 1 or the Extra Mile IE 1 on the Twitter. And also check out our IE Sports Radio social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Check out the website as well, iesportsradio.com. And you can listen to any episode of any IE Sports Radio show that you have missed on the Spreaker Show Reel, YouTube, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, and other places where podcasts can be heard. And with that being said, it is time to say good night. And also check out the website, www.iesportsradio.com. Get involved in the community. Read up more about your show hosts and more. Check out the website. And with that being said, it's time to head out here for this episode of The Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio. And as Turin just said, please stop stealing all the toilet paper. For Caitlin and Michael, I'm Darryl. This has been The Extra Mile. We will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody. Please wash your hands.